Hey, Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachah HaKodash. Double honors to my teachers, the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and a Kazak Shalom to the hopeful elect. Real quick, through the Spirit, I was just looking through different articles and I was reading, and the Spirit hopped on me to come across this. It says, for real this time, federal government says real ID will be enforced May 7th. And what is real ID? And this is from the Department of Homeland Security website. Go down to for the public, or we would consider frequently asked questions. What is real ID? This was passed by Congress in 2005. The Real ID Act enacted the 9/11 Commission's recommendation that FedGov set standards for the issuance of sources of identification such as driver's licenses. The act established minimum security standards for state-issued driver's licenses and ID cards and prohibits or stops certain federal agencies from accepting for official purposes licenses and identification cards from states that do not meet the standards. These purposes are accessing certain federal facilities, boarding federally regulated commercial aircraft, entering nuclear power plants. Now, this ties into prophecy because all roads lead to the CHIP. It says it will be issued on May 7th. What happens when the real ID enforcement dates begin? Federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and TSA, may only accept state-issued driver license and ID cards as identification for purpose of accessing federal facilities, including TSA airport security checkpoints. If the license or card was issued by a real ID compliant state in accordance with the real ID security standards, meaning the license or card must include the real ID compliant star marking. Enhanced driver's licenses issued by Washington, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Vermont are considered acceptable alternatives to real ID compliant cards and will also be accepted for real ID purposes. So, point being, you're not going to be able to travel or to get into certain buildings without that star on your license. And ultimately, this is gradualism, getting you ready, just like, cash and certain transactions going completely digital. All these things tie in to you buying into the beast system. This is Revelations 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. Woe means death and destruction. Why? Because for the devil is come down unto you, and the devil is the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, which is the so-called white man, who is Esau Edom, pursuant to the scriptures and biblical prophecy. Because pursuant to Job 9:24, Revelations 1, that's who will be ruling when Yahweh Shah comes back. Isaiah 34, Isaiah 63. So that's the devil that this is talking about. For the devils come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So Esau right now is playing nice for the sake of prophecy. All the things he does pertaining to the NWO, before it comes out, it becomes completely blatant and draconian with his measures. He's going to push things under the guise of innovation, safety. He's going to tie in all those isms associated with the image of the beast. So he's going to tie in on your patriotism. He's going to back you into a corner. Like, essentially, Jerusalem is being besieged again. So he's going to take advantage of you being desperate, wanting to fit in, wanting life to continue how things were, hence make America great again. And what is he going to do? He's going to usher in the tiny technology. Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a MRK in their right hand or in their foreheads. And I was watching Elder Malcolm some other videos earlier, and what's going to come up next is going to be a cyber epidemic. But guess what? Order Abkeo, Esau is going to come in and save the day with his technology. So, okay, somebody can steal your identity, or you could lose that real ID with a star on it, but you can't lose the C-hip in your right hand. So whether you're poor and you're offered government assistance for taking the C-hip, or you're rich and you get access to certain amenities, and you entice the people like, oh, you don't got money unless you got a C-hip. They gonna do it just like they told Juvenile. And you go out there and make a coon of yourself, make a jackass of yourself. Girl, you look good once you snake juice that thing up. You gotta wake the hell up. He says he calls it. When you go into that word calls it, is to mandate, to make the author of a thing. Both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So in Jake terms, everybody and their mama to receive a MARK in their right hands or in their foreheads. Go down to that word Marcus Charagma. We'll keep going over it. The scriptures talking about when it comes to the house of Israel, the Lord conveyed through the prophet Ezekiel, give them warning from me. We're doing this to get the blood off our hands. And there's going to be no excuse in that day. Oh, I didn't know that was talking about that. I thought it was talking about sin. I thought it was talking about white women. I thought it was talking about embargo. Hell no. The truth is out there. Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah said he sent pastors according to his heart. And the pastors that he sent according to his heart are the elders and apostles of the great millstone and their fruit, which will be the men under them and the like-minded affiliates. But anyways, I digress. Strong's G5480, Charagma says a stamp and a printed mark of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the anti-Messiah. And I was just reading, John, that's the spirit. Matter of fact, we'll get that real quick. I was just reading this chapter. This is 1 John 2:18. It says, little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that anti-messiahs, anti-Yahushua shall come, even now are there many anti-Hamashiachs, whereby we know that it is the last time. So this is an indicator that we're in the last days. The fashion of this world and, the carnal things that are in it are about to be done away with for good. And it's not just one anti-Messiah. There's several of them. First John 2:22, it says, who is a liar but he that denieth Yahushua is the anointed? He is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. So if you're in that stead, the final act of defiance, the final, sign of rebellion will be taking that C-hip. Trusting your oppressor and trusting in the system. And ultimately, this is just the narrative of the Heavenly Father played out because he already picked this team. We're just seeing certain things play out. So all the anti-messiahs are being revealed. Light is being shed on them through the prophets, through the precepts, and through the prophecies being fulfilled. First John 4:3, it says, every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua is come in the flesh is not of the Heavenly Father. And this is that spirit of the anti-Messiah, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. So it was clear examples of people who were for the Messiah and against him during his physical time on the earth. And those same spirits are back now. The same spirits that chose Barabbas over Yahushua, and the same people on the opposite side who are cleaving to the words of Yahushua, having faith in him and the one who sent him. That's why that concept of regeneration is so important. It says, for many deceivers are entered into the world who confess not that Yahushua Hamashiach is come in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an anti-Hamashiach. So the people who don't believe in Yahushua, in his words, they don't believe that, the Heavenly Father is who he is and who he says he is. Again, all these things being conveyed through the mouth of the prophets. Those are the people coming in the anti-Yahushua spirit. But again, Salaki the sidetrack, but going back to this, it says the mark branded upon horses, things carved, sculpture, graven work of idolaters' images. So a stamp and a printed mark, that is something physical. The mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the anti-Messiah. That's why this MARK is compared to the digital all. Where is it? This is in the law, Exodus 21:5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. So if you are happy with your owner, your master, and you want to, still be under him, under subjection, under servitude. Verse 6, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. So if you apply that spiritually, that's the same thing that's happening when you take that digital awl, when you take that RFID technology in your right hand or your forehead. It don't matter if it's your right hand, your forehead, your butt cheek, your left big toe. If it's inside of you, it's a badge of servitude to the biggest anti-Messiah on the planet, Esau Edom. But anybody coming in that stead who don't believe in Yahweh Shem Shah and the prophets, you're anti-Messiah. 2/3 of our people, your lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but you're regarded as a heathen right now. You're an enemy. You're an anti-Messiah. In the other nations, you were never supposed to receive it. You're going to learn it by force. This is how we picked up your ways in captivity. It's going to be the same thing, but it's going to be in righteousness. The mark branded upon horses, things carved, sculpture, graven work of idolaters' images. Going to the root word. It's karax, pale, stake, or palisade. Just like those big-ass logs with the pointy edges on Braveheart. That's the same shape also as the delivery system, the hypodermic needle. And last but not least, grapho. To write with reference to the form of the letters. To delineate letters on a tablet, parchment paper, or other materials. But really, go down to 2 subsection B. It says to commit in writing, things not to be forgotten. Write down, record. To fill with writing, to draw up in writing, compose. Strong definition to grave, especially to write, figuratively to describe. So grave, to write, record. All this information is going to be stored in that C-hip. And things like Apple Pay, the Real ID, Samsung Pay, Amazon Go. Again, all these things Esau uses and pushes out there as, just a friendly neighborhood white man's technology and innovations are ultimately leading to your demise. Do not take it. Do not take the C-hip. You're being warned through the mouth of the prophets. Do not take it. And Esau is cunning. So it might seem like, okay, this is just what I have to do in order to fit into society. But Esau knows how serious taking that thing is. So with that being said, Job 5:12 says he disappointed the devices of the crafty. And the crafty in this context would be Esau. And the devices would be the wicked plans and the inventions and plots towards the Heavenly Father's people, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And you speckled birds, you Israelites who look like the other nations, but your lineage goes back to the patriarchs I just mentioned, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And the enterprise is a big plan. What's that plan? The New World Order. The mandatory implementation of the C-hip and totalitarian control over everybody. Verse 13, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, right? Yahweh Shai are going to confound the mighty. Now they're going to take Esau, the big bully, off the block down. And the same devices that they intended to use to rule the world, they're blessing of the sword, the thermonuclear technology, that's the same technology that's going to take them out. The same RFID technology that they thought going to allow them to prosper and, try to emulate the power of the Lord on the left-hand side is the same thing that's going to cause them a grievous sore. And for 2/3 of our own people, this was going to cause you to not be eligible for salvation. It says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. So the things that lead up to the NWO, that enterprise that the Lord is not going to allow them to perform, at first they're going to come subtle, and then when you go to that word headlong, it says with the head foremost in a rush with reckless haste. Mahar, which means speed. To hasten, to be hurried, anxious, hasty, precipitate, impetuous. And go down. To hurry, in a good or bad sense. Often used with another verb, adverbially, promptly, to be carried headlong, fearful. To be done in haste, suddenly, swiftly. So it's going to be carried out in a speedy, in a reckless manner. So it's going to go from May 7th to it got to be mandatory to, other things prompting the mandatory implant of that thing. They read that same verse in the NLT. It says he traps the wise in their own cleverness, so their cunning schemes are thwarted. To prevent someone from accomplishing something. Foil. So the Lord gave the prophets the eyesight to see through Esau's schemes. And he charged them to warn the people to make the things plain upon tables, so they may run who readeth, who comprehend what we're saying. Aparatazah were those men. Aparatazah were delivered and saved from Esau's wrath, because he's going to come down with great wrath. He's going to come at us, like a flood, but the Lord's going to lift up a standard and give us spiritual powers, and it's going to allow us to overcome this devil. Some of us are going to die, pursuant to Revelation 20:4, but to quote the beloved Elder Malcolm, this is why we do these epistles, risking our lives and freedom to edify the people, to warn the flock, and ultimately brace our minds for the next transition. The end of Esau's rulership in the beginning of the kingdom of heaven. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time.